Hi, my name's Sterling Hawkins. I just did an interview with the HackCess show. There's a specific formula for how to achieve things no matter what's happening in the world. As long as you're doing that on a regular cadence, you're repeating that process of looking at, well, what worked, what didn't work, and why didn't it work?
hmm
Well, over time, you can't help but start to improve.
Hi, and welcome to the HackCess Show. It's the place where you can find life hacks on how to become the best version of yourself and achieve your goals. We show you how to walk the talk from successful people. And today we have Sterling here with us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
That's a pleasure, man. So you want to give us a quick overview of what you do just for the viewers?
Sure. Well, I started out a professional speaker, speaking around innovation, how to achieve exponential breakthrough growth. And really, it's become how to achieve results no matter what. So I help people and companies achieve whatever it is they're committed to achieving, their goals, their visions, their dreams, regardless of the circumstances in the world. And well, these days we've got a lot of those, don't we?
Yeah. So is that like a long life vocation to just help people and work with them?
It is, it's kind of a personal mission for me. I spent a lot of years, having all these ideas and dreams inside of myself and not knowing how to get them out in the world.
Mm.
And it left me kind of depressed and frustrated and anxious. And, um, you know, I've taken a journey kind of the hard way,
Mm.
brute force in a lot of places and having a lot of conversations and just kind of these mass pieces of effort. I'm like, you know what, there's an easier way to do some of these things. And I've learned them and, I'm out to share them with everybody else. Hopefully they can get something from what I've gotten out of life, at least thus far.
Definitely, yeah. And do you get like this kind of imposter syndrome, like at the beginning, maybe once you're not exactly where you want to be in life, but you have to help people as well along their own journey. So you're progressing at the same time as other people, which you have to give advice. Do you get that sometimes?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So my first company I started back in, I guess it was 2004.
hmm
And we sold it to a group in the Bay Area that raised $550 million. And this is right out of college. So I'm kind of like riding high and I'm planning, what island do I want to buy and what kind of private jet should I have? Like I've got a
Yeah.
ton of money, especially a ton of money on paper. And long story short, that company ended up going bankrupt about 4 years after that. So it was like this high, big parties, flying first class on top of the world, to a low where after a period of time, I'm out of cash. My girlfriend breaks up with me. I'm sleeping on my parents' couch. And so it was this weird dichotomy between like, yeah, I've been successful.
Mm.
I've done some great things in the world. And well, I don't have that now. And balancing out that imposter syndrome to kind of grow from that low point
Mm.
was a huge thing for me.
Yeah. So like, did your vision of success is different now that it was like maybe once you had like when you were at that high and maybe like your vision of success was going first class and going to parties, all that, and then maybe it's more like
Yeah.
security and happiness and all that. So what's is it different now, your vision?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And you're right on. Initially, in my early 20s, mid 20s, especially, it was, yeah, success is money, success is fame, success is, having all these credentials to my name.
Mm.
And it's not that that's not important. Some of that is. But at the same time, for me, success is creating success inside other people.
Mm.
It's become more important for me to support others in their journey, whatever it is, creating a startup, having some fulfillment in their life, getting some results with, these countless circumstances that they're dealing with. To
Mm.
me, if I can do that for one person, not to mention many of them, then that's successful.
Yeah.
The money, all the stuff that I named earlier, that's the result, not the aim.
Yeah, pretty much it's just a like a way to get there, but I think I'm pretty much the same way. At the beginning I was
Yeah.
like living in New York when I was 21 and going to parties, like spending a lot of money, and now I just want like I still want to spend money, but like on my family and buying them stuff, like helping my parents and all that. So I think it's still like money's, of course, it's a currency, so you can't really do anything without it, but it's how you apply to it in your life, I guess. And
Yeah.
you live like your lifestyle changed also and your mindset and all that?
It did. I mean, I think I've gotten much grittier throughout the whole process because life's hard. You know, business is hard. Creating new things is really, really hard because we all live within the status quo and we know the things that we already know. And, you know, there's little growth there. But I found that by exposing yourself to hard things over and over and over again, you start to grow your capacity to handle any of that discomfort that might come. It's almost like going to the gym. You know, you go to the gym, you go a bunch of days in a row, eventually you start to get stronger.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with dealing with discomfort. You know, the discomfort of rejection, discomfort of embarrassment, discomfort of pain of some sort, right? The more we can expose ourselves to those kinds of things, the better we get at it. And the better we get at it, the more chances that we have to be successful, just because we're taking more shots on goal.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's a little bit like embracing the pain, you know, like as you said, when you go to the gym, it's like it's the good kind of pain. So it makes you stronger, and you know that it's painful at the moment, but in the future it's going to be rewarding, rather than, you know, something that's rewarding right now and it's going to be painful in the future.
Well, and I think what you said, embrace the pain, is the most important part. Really embracing versus running from it, trying to reject it, pretend it's not happening. Because when we embrace discomfort, something really interesting happens physiologically inside us. You know, we're all familiar with a lot of the symptoms. Like when we're nervous or anxious, the heart races and blood pumps, adrenaline courses through our veins. That's something we're all familiar with, at least at some level. But what I've also learned, because I'm a nerd about some of this stuff, like I do all the research around the science and the biology and like, what does it really take? Well, when we're experiencing those symptoms, if we embrace them, new connections are made in the brain. It's kind of like the biological equivalent of opening up the throttle on an engine.
Okay.
And it's why, you know, Olympic athletes, for example, they do all this training and everything else for years leading up to events. But when the day comes when they're competing and they're under this extreme pressure, typical discomfort, right? They can perform by as much as 12% above where they train. So that embracing the pain is absolutely critical. It makes all the difference.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I know when I was doing some research, I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually biology backing up this idea. And there's a reason physiologically that it makes sense and that it works.
Yeah. I love when you can like back it up with a study and you're like, okay, I'm going to make this kind of decision now because of that. And yeah, that's a great way to like improve your lifestyle and all that. So do you change the way you make decision now based on embracing pain and getting a reward in the future, rather than just like getting this reward right now and like not being able to perform in the future? Yeah.
I would say I've gotten much more responsive to things versus reactive. You know, when you're reactive, you're just responding to pain or what you think is happening. And that may or may not be correlated with what's happening in the real world, right? And so by being able to handle some of that discomfort over longer periods of time, building a great team of people around me and kind of stepping back from any of that stuff, I think we're better able to make decisions and respond to things and have a real impact on them versus just kind of dancing around the emotions of everything.
Yeah.
Because we all know how that feels, right?
Yeah. You're just like taking stuff, you see what's happening, but like you're not really efficient. So like, how do you set your goals and all that? So you're like efficient in your work and you can like optimize your daily life. I'm like a nerd for like stats, numbers, and how to optimize everything. So I'm curious about that. In your world of life?
Yeah, well, I think it's first important to have a vision. You know, a vision might not be totally concrete, but it's directionally where you want to go. You know, I want to take my company public. I want this app to reach all single mothers in the United States. Right? You've got some vision of where it is you're headed, the community you want to impact, and well, how it is that you're going to do that. You know, that becomes your guiding light.
Yeah.
Dreams have a funny way of staying dreams, though. Visions have a funny way of staying visions. You need some goals, kind of stepping stones to get there. And so, you know, what I suggest and what I do is have a couple of goals of what I want to accomplish each week, each month, and each year. and I review them on those cycles. So every day at the end of the day, I'll say, okay, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish or not? And if not, why?
Mm.
And if I did fantastic, how can I do more of that? And then I'll do it on a monthly basis. Somewhere around the first of every month, I'll do the same exact thing. The goals are a little bigger because we're not talking about a day, we're talking about a month.
Yeah.
And then same thing after a year, right? We're saying, okay, well, what can we accomplish in this entire year in terms of specific goals, in terms of revenue, people we're reaching, what our media looks like, and all of that. And I think as long as you're doing that on a regular cadence, you're repeating that process of looking at, well, what worked, what didn't work, and why didn't it work?
Mm-hmm.
Well, over time, you can't help but start to improve.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like physics, right?
Yeah.
You got something, you continue to work on it. Eventually, if you're really diligent with it, it will get better.
Yeah.
You will figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you keep pushing yourself, you're gonna get better. There's no other way. Like you have to progress in some kind of, like, maybe not in the exact way you want to go, but at least you're gonna grow and expand. So like when you set goals, let's say like on a yearly goal or like 5 years goal, do you set like some like a realistic goal or something that's just gonna be like pushing yourself a little bit more, or something that's unrealistic but you know you're gonna achieve it? I think it's very important to I don't know, like there are different kind of people who set like unrealistic goals but they still achieve them, and like how does it work with you, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's just what you said. If I know I can already achieve it, there's no growth.
Mm.
And I'm all about growth. Like, how can we achieve, be, and do more in every area of life, right? And if it's a known function, if I know I'm going to make this much money or reach this many clients or do this many keynotes, well, then that's just what is already going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to double that or triple that, well, now I've got to figure it out, right? I've got some work to do, some discovery to do. And what we see is possible. This is kind of the core of what I work with people and companies on, is the core of what's driving what we view as possible and not possible is our beliefs, right? What you believe about yourself, what you believe about your company, your family, your industry, your beliefs about everything are driving what you see as something you should do, not do, might do, can't do, etc. And beliefs are really interesting because they work like lenses and glasses. And I don't know, do you wear glasses or contacts or anything?
No, not anymore. No.
Okay, so I wear glasses, contacts now, but without them, I can't see anything. And lenses have a couple of important functions as it relates to beliefs. You know, I put my glasses on in the morning, I can see better. You put my glasses on in the morning, they're like this thick, you would see far worse. But either way, the lens changes what you see. The second function of the lens that's really important to look at is that we don't look at lenses, we look through them. I'm not picking up my glasses and considering them and viewing them, right? I just put them on and I see a certain way. Well, beliefs work exactly the same. They're invisible, but yet they color, shape, change, influence literally everything. So as we can change those core beliefs, it starts to change which actions we're going to take, because beliefs drive actions, actions drive results.
Yeah, I love that. I think, and that's the way I practice too. Like I have a gratitude journal, and I think it works like a charm. So do you think, how do you work with beliefs, like in terms of mindsets? Are you just like repeating stuff in your head, like I can do it, I can do it? Like if you have a goal, let's say like, all right, I already reached that goal, and you try to just brainwash yourself, or how do you do it?
Yeah, well, knowledge alone doesn't make any difference. Like if you're purely intellectually going through telling yourself something, it doesn't do anything. It's kind of like studying or listening to a podcast to learn how to swim. Like you might have a lot of knowledge. You could even get a PhD in it, right? You can imagine somebody getting a PhD in swimming and then they get pushed in the water for the first time and that PhD doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Right? So intellectual, the mental function alone, it's important, but alone, it just doesn't work. What I've found is that learning's hugely important, but what's more important is applied learning. And to apply the new things that we've learned takes some level of discomfort, right? Like it's a little uncomfortable to do something new. You mentioned gratitude journal. I actually just started doing that earlier this year. That was one of my like New Year's resolutions, right? And it's a little uncomfortable to get started. It takes something. You've got to remember it. You got to put it in your calendar. You got to kind of build the habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that discomfort, when you feel discomfort inside your body, all those symptoms we were talking about earlier, those are the things that kind of are raising a flag saying, hey, right here is a belief that doesn't line up with the result that you want.
Mm.
And if you run from it, you've got no hope in getting that result. But if you embrace it, like we were talking about, it gives you a chance to start to work through that discomfort to achieve the new result. Did I answer your question, or did I just go in a totally different direction?
I actually don't remember my question now, but like I'm like happy with what you said, and you just got me. And I think it's even if it's not on point with the question, I think it's a great way to put it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, no matter what's really a system to do exactly that, right? I've studied all of these business leaders, of course, that feels like cost of entry sometimes, like I'm a business guy.
Yeah.
But I've also looked at people from history and really cool people like Top Gun pilots and billionaire founders, Olympic gold medalists, famous entrepreneurs. And I've started to find like there's a specific formula for how to achieve things no matter what's happening in the world. And we've systematized it under the, I got to brand myself, right? The no matter what system.
Yeah.
And there's 5 steps to it. And we've talked about some of them already. The first is find that discomfort. Find where you have a belief that's inconsistent with your result because you'll feel it.
Mm.
Once you do that, then you declare a new vision for it, right? A vision to overcome that discomfort. And you can't do it alone.
Mm.
You've got to build what I call a street gang, people around you that have your back, and they have to have your back, especially when things get tough, because when you get uncomfortable and things happen in the world, well, we've got a pandemic, we've got tech disruption, we got civil unrest, there's misinformation, there's brutal competition. Like there are far more reasons than we can even count, but your street gang has to hold you accountable to the result that you want.
Yeah.
The 4th step is flip it. Take any problems you have and turn them into breakthrough results. I can tell you exactly how to do that if you want to go down that path. Mm-hmm. And then 5th, and we kind of spoke about this a little bit with the gratitude journal, but surrender. Mm. You have to accept everything, radically accept everything exactly how it is and exactly how it isn't. And that frees you up to kind of go through this process over and over again. Mm. That's something that all high performers do, whether they know it or not. And everybody, not even just in modern times, but throughout history, has somehow embodied that same process in some shape or form, which to me is the coolest thing. Like we've found a formula for something.
Yeah, it's pretty much like one of my favorite books is actually like The Science of Getting Rich, and I think it's a little bit like the same way. It's gratitude. It's thinking in a certain way and efficient action. And actually, like in terms of action in your daily life, how do you make sure that what you do, the actions you take are actually like in line with the beliefs and that what you want, like the beliefs that you're trying to break and the vision that you have, and that your actions are actually getting you towards this vision,
Yeah. Well, where I look for success is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Most people look for success in terms of the results. I got what I wanted to achieve, right? I made the money, I got the patent, started the company, whatever it is. For me, success is the process. If I'm going through that process of looking at what's working, what's not working, going through those 5 steps over and over again, that's what means I'm successful, because all those things, the money, the starting the company, all the results actually come from going through that process effectively. Mm. And what I do, I practice what I preach, right? I've got a street gang around me that's holding me accountable to what I'm saying that I want to do. Mm. And they are cutthroat, right? And they'll just tell me, hey, this is exactly how you said you wanted to do it, and you didn't do that. So let's look at it.
Yeah.
And those people, which can be anybody, right? Could be a friend, could be your boss, could be somebody you work with. Just don't make it an internet pen pal, right? Like it should be somebody that you know.
Yeah.
And as long as that person's really committed to you and your results, it makes such a dramatic difference. And in fact, I was looking at a study the other day. You'll appreciate this because this is like a science study thing. If you've got somebody that's holding you specifically accountable for something, do you want to guess how much more likely you are to achieve it?
I'll say like 30-40%.
It's more. I would have guessed the same.
Yeah.
95%.
Whoa. Okay.
Right. It's like, who doesn't want those kinds of odds? So if you're really committed to something, you better get somebody that you're going to be accountable to, because, well, you might not do it otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a numbers game. So like take all the odds you can, actually. So it's
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit intimidating sometimes, though, to commit to big visions, to say, hey, I want you to hold me accountable to X, Y, or Z result. And that's where that discomfort muscle comes back in. Being able to handle that discomfort of declaring, committing to larger and larger things over time. And well, that's what growth looks like.
So do you have like mentors besides your gang that keeps you accountable?
I do. I would actually include them in my gang. I don't share their names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got people that are far more successful than I am in different parts of life, right? Some financially for sure, but some maybe just spiritually or intellectually. And I'm looking for them to, provide me some guidance, some vision of where I'm headed. And then when we get back together, hold me accountable for what I said or didn't say I was going to do.
Yeah. I think, that actually makes me want to, like, once we're done, I'm going to build my gang around that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a 10-day challenge. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. It's on my website, and it takes you through the 5 systems that we just talked about. Not only does it teach you them and give you some case studies about how and why it works and kind of see the application in the real world, but it gives you exercises every day so you can kind of take what you've learned and apply it into your life and business. So, I'll send you the link for that afterwards. Maybe we can put it up for everybody that's listening. And inside of that is how to build your street gang, how to put those people around you effectively.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put that in the description after, for sure. So, damn, I had a question. So you talked about like financial, health, spiritual, all that. So how do you balance your life between like work, mindset, physical, like workout, all that? Do you try to mix everything together, or how does it work?
Yeah, I don't really believe in balance because it's all me, if that makes sense. Like I'm showing up at work, I'm showing up in my relationships, I'm showing up in my spiritual practices, I'm showing up in my exercise health practices. And so I view it more holistically than, I've spent 8 hours in work, now I need to spend 2 hours relaxing and 1 hour exercising. To me, it's all kind of part of the same thing. It's part of my human experience.
Yeah.
And what I look at, instead of like saying, hey, do I have the proper balance, is, am I fulfilled? Am I going through this cycle on an effective basis? And if I'm not, then I've got to change something about me. Not about the world, not about the hours here or the hours there, but what do I need to change about me to achieve the result that I want? And the result, like I said, doesn't necessarily have to be something tangible. It could be something like, I'm just not feeling happy. Okay, well, why? Let's look at that. Or I'm not feeling fulfilled. Let's look at that.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to put it. Like there is yourself as a whole, and like sometimes you're gonna feel like, I need a little bit more of that or a little bit more of that. So you can like adjust the way you live and your lifestyle to make you more fulfilled and happy, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And, this stuff isn't for everybody. I mean, no matter what system is for when like you really want it. It could be something like you've hit rock bottom, which I've been at 4 times, where I've been on these incredible trajectories and then crashed. Could be like you're confused around what your next step is, or you're not sure of where you're headed in your life or where you're headed with your business. Or it might just be, well, you've had enough, right? Like you're just sick of the results that you have. And you're like, okay, right now is time for something more. And it's really that headspace that you've got to be in to really achieve results no matter what. In fact, to apply the system meaningfully.
Yeah.
You know, just going through the motions doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to want it for sure. So
Yeah.
we talked about like quickly before about like problems and obstacles. And I actually saw a post of yours where you talked about problems. So how do you deal with that? Do you want to explain like what's your mindset when you encounter a problem or obstacle in your daily life, and like you have this goal in mind, there is like something in between, like how do you deal with it?
Yeah. So there's 4 steps. The first is articulate the problem.
Mm-hmm.
What is the problem? And then second, why is it a problem? Do you not have enough money? Is it a legal constraint? Is it a personal ethics violation? But why is that a problem for you?
Mm.
And then third, step back from that problem and say, hey, what's the vision I'm trying to achieve? Right? Like maybe I can't get to that specific goal, but my vision is much greater than that.
Mm.
And then fourth, well, that gives you a little space to say, okay, well, how else can I accomplish that vision just in a totally different way?
Mm.
How can I achieve that vision, kind of circumnavigating whatever the problem is?
Yeah.
You know, a company that did this like textbook perfectly is a restaurant called Addo in Seattle, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you, by the way?
I'm in France right now.
You're in France. Okay.
Yeah.
So Seattle, Washington was one of the hardest hit places by the pandemic early on, in the States at least, right? And the restaurant industry has been decimated globally. And the owner of the restaurant, his name's Eric Rivera, he had a different belief, right? He said, okay, I'm not going to shut down with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use this problem as an opportunity. And so, you know, at a time when companies are closing their doors, letting go of people, he's launching new things. He's saying, hey, no longer are my servers going to wait tables, but I'm going to create my own delivery service with my own trucks, my own standards, my own specifications. So those same people can deliver food to people's door. Mm. And he said, okay, well, I'm having some supply chain issues. This is a time when we can't even get toilet paper, right? Was that the same in France or no?
It was the same at one point, like at the beginning when it really hit and everybody was rushing for toilet paper and water and rice and all that. Yeah.
Makes no sense to me here, but he was having supply chain issues mostly with food. And instead of looking at it as a problem, again, he used it as a breakthrough. He said, hey, if I can only get this special Japanese beef for 2 days a week, what's just going to be a special for those 2 days? And I'm going to create a special spa night that's only available Friday nights, right? Like he created these unique experiences. And they started shipping products to customers saying, hey, here's some of the kitchen items that we have that you can prepare the same delicious meals that we have in our restaurant. Now you can do it at home, and here's how. Mm-hmm. And at a time when everybody's shutting down, this guy's doing more business than ever, even with his doors open. And you think like, you know, if he can do that with a restaurant during COVID-19, the hardest hit industry, like what can you do with your resources, your people, and you know, yourself? The sky's the limit.
Yeah. And it's like taking the worst case scenario and making it like awesome. So like, if you take your problems in comparison, it's gonna seem like it's nothing. Yeah. And is there like a time where you're like not in the, like maybe not in a very positive mindset and you're like, oh my God, I got problems, you know, like I feel like, yeah, at some point everybody's going to be depressed, but how do you like maybe fight that?
Yeah, well, I'm human just like everybody else here, you know, and so I have high points and low points, and I feel depressed and beat up sometimes. Especially the beginning of the pandemic was a really tough time for me too. I mean, I was running workshops and speaking at conferences all over the world, and in a period of about 7 days, canceled.
Yeah,
every one of them canceled or delayed. It was like 7 figures in business disappeared overnight. I was devastated. And, you know, really incapacitated. For a long time, I started just ordering pizza, watching Netflix. You know, it got so bad that the pizza restaurant's calling me to be like, hey, are you okay? Nobody orders this much pizza, you know? but it was bad. And what I found in that situation and any other like it is if you find something to disrupt that malaise, that depression, then it helps you snap out of it. Again, it's not just an intellectual function of, hey, Sterling, you should feel better. You've got a lot of potential. Like, it's not kind of that hollow motivational stuff. What I did is I said, okay, I need to snap out of this. I'm going to run 50 miles. I'm not a runner, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I've got sneakers from a marathon I did a decade ago. I run a couple miles here and there, but I'm like, that is impossibly hard for me. It's back to what we were talking about with goals earlier.
Yeah.
It's something I didn't know if I could do. So I set out running. I didn't do it all at once. I did 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, plus an extra 2 miles at the end. I actually got it from David Goggins, if you know him.
Okay. No, I don't know him.
So he's a big fitness guy. He was talking about the 4x4x48 is what he calls it. 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And I'm like, okay, that's the hard thing I'm going to do to snap out of this, not knowing if I could do it or not. First couple of runs went reasonably well, although I'm already starting to think this is harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And about halfway in, it's a disaster. You're waking up in the middle of the night. I'm running in when it's pitch black out. My legs hurt. My knees ache. I can't even feel my feet anymore. It's awful. And what I realized, it was probably 3/4 of the way through, like 42, 43 miles in. I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish this no matter what. Whether I run, walk, crawl, like, I don't care how I get across the finish line, but I'm going to. And it was this incredible peace that settled over me where, like, I wasn't thinking about what I should have done, how I should have trained. Hey, I should never committed to this thing in the first place. I definitely shouldn't have told my street gang about it because now I have to do it, you know? And in that moment, I let go of all of it. When you commit to something, no matter what, it gives you some peace of mind to just, deal with the pain, but not deal with all the intellectual strife that can sometimes go along with it. And that's actually how No Matter What was born.
Oh, awesome.
in April during the pandemic of last year. And, it's doing hard things for me, at least. That's what I would teach is find something that's physically far outside your comfort zone. And that starts to snap you out of any depression or tough feelings you have. Now, that was a big scenario, right? That was a big thing for me. You can do it in small ways. If I'm feeling maybe a little bit off in the morning, well, I'll just go to the gym. Or if I'm a little bit upset one afternoon, or I don't get a deal that I expect to go down, I might go for a run, or I might meditate, right? Like, I'm looking for physical experiences to change my state. And I think that's the trick to it.
Yeah. And so do you think it's important to, like, try to get out of your comfort zone, like, on a regular basis, just to, like, keep on growing and not get into ruts and all that?
I think it's imperative. Well, although I think how the social media world has interpreted this is not correct. They'll tell you, like, oh, the further you get outside of your comfort zone, the more you're growing. And that's just simply not true. On the far end of that spectrum, when you're really uncomfortable, you're incapacitated. Think about somebody, maybe yourself or somebody that's scared of speaking. If you put them on stage live in front of 10,000 people, they probably can't even move. Right? So that far end of the spectrum of discomfort, it's too much, and it actually does more damage than it does good. There's a sweet spot with discomfort. It's kind of like a bell curve where totally comfortable isn't good, doesn't work. Totally uncomfortable doesn't work. But when you balance them, you kind of have 1 foot in chaos, 1 foot in order, then that's where you're going to really optimize yourself for growth and getting the results that you want.
Yeah. And I think you got to be smart about it too. Like, is getting out of my comfort zone in this specific situation is going to help me achieve my purpose and my goals and my vision? As you said, like, maybe let's say, like, you're a shy person and you just want to be able to talk to other people, maybe not do a conference right away, it's maybe not going to work. So I think, baby steps are the key in that, for sure.
It's totally baby steps. And, I think that's where happiness and fulfillment comes from as well. When you're balancing comfort and discomfort, or chaos and order effectively, you're just going to be a happier, more productive, more engaged person.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a good point, because I wanted to mention like a book I really like is Be Obsessed or Be Average, and I think that it's important to be obsessed, but regarding like happiness and obsession at the same time, do you think it's important to be just obsessed about your business and do everything you can to get your vision, no matter what, or just like try to find, like as we talked before, something that works for you, like the whole lifestyle, and maybe not go overboard and too far out of your comfort zone,
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be holistic in terms of how you approach things. Usually, obsessing about anything tends to put like blinders on, and it's hard to see. Now, I'm not saying hard work's not necessary. It definitely is. But when we get too focused on one particular thing, we're blind to all the other opportunities that might be around us.
Yeah, I think that's a simple and great way to put it. I think that if you're too obsessed about something, you might end up like making wrong decisions, and it's just gonna like affect in a negative way, like your path and your vision for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in your ability to handle discomfort, kind of on that comfort discomfort spectrum, it is holistic, right? When you're better able to handle uncomfortable things personally, well, that's going to translate just naturally into how you handle uncomfortable things professionally.
Yeah.
Right. So this really gets at the heart of who people are, individually and in running their companies, because that's what the whole game is. It's not just building a business, it's building you, and the business is the result.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to end it. Sterling,
Cool.
Thanks so much for all your answers, and great answers. All right, it's promo time for you. So pitch us no matter what. Tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, well, I think the best place to start is that 10-day challenge, 10 days to get results no matter what. And like I said, it gives you all the information about, these practices, what I've essentially spent 20 years putting together. Gives you the case studies, and then gives you practices to take those things and apply them right into your life and business. So you will have results after those 10 days, and it doesn't cost anything. Anybody that wants to dig a little deeper, my website's sterlinghawkins.com, and I'm searchable on just about every social media platform there is at sterlinghawkins.com. So, feel free to reach out, ask me questions. I'm super responsive, and I'll look forward to hearing from